All right, thank you very much to be part of this discussion session. Thank you, Regina, Beck, and Chelsea, for your participation today. We are going to discuss a very important case which involves a lady called Jill, who has recently visited our office. So, as our organization all the time is looking after the people who can be vulnerable and in very difficult situations. So it is important as well to discuss with you the different point of views that you have. Yes, Beck?
So I think firstly then the work with Jill will be from a strength-based approach, and I think it will have to reflect evidence-based practice. So there's different screening indications, like you can get access to child safety information sharing through the police. So I think firstly I highlighted parts of the case using crisis theory and Roberts' crisis intervention model, where the first part of it is to indicate fatality. So I think Jill has said in the case study that her partner obviously is continuing to turn up and be violent towards her. His behaviours are escalating and that he's been threatening to kill her and harm the children. So I think the assessment would be based on those very high indicators that she could potentially lose her life. And I think those indicators are further impacted by how fearful she is, and that how, which I think is all very important to the assessment. And I think Jill is the most important person because she's lived with him her whole life. She knows what escalates him, and she's had his children, so I think she is the person that knows best. I think we would use like systems theory as well, probably, to communicate with the outside systems. So the Department of Housing, and I think we would write like a letter that would outline the concerns. Obviously there's different programs that allow, I know Jill's indicated that she wants to find new housing, but there's also programs that allow her to stay in the house and the perpetrator then be held accountable and he be removed. I think as well they asked, like the police have asked that need to have more, that the police can't do anything because there's the conditions on her order. So I think an important part of the assessment was, for me and for Jill, I think is even there's a general order on a domestic violence thing that is of good behaviour, and he's not obviously doing any good behaviour by showing up. So even though they're telling her that she needs to have more conditions on the order, he's still in breach of his basic order. If that makes sense. And I think, the Department of Housing has a mandatory approach to domestic violence, and I would request the panel to convene on Jill's behalf, and which we would then put goals, like writing a letter to them would be the goals for the intervention. But obviously the safety of her and the children is the number one priority. So we would put a variance to the current DVO and to make it non-contact, but I think we would need to discuss with Jill why that hasn't been done already, because there could be unintended consequences
exactly.
That come from that, like that may escalate him to be even more violent, which maybe is why it hasn't been done. And obviously because I think all research shows that once you've put those higher orders on, that's when the violence really escalates. I'd probably look at doing like a circle of safety, a genogram, like an eco map to determine what support networks she has, like personally as well as socially, like through just even her work or schools, like communicating a lot to those bigger systems, like on micro, macro, and meso levels. And yeah, I think mainly like a lot of my analysis was based on like systems theory, because there's so many different people involved. And
which theory you say?
Sorry, system
theory.
All right.
Systems theory, yeah. Because I think when you look at like family systems theory, it's a lot about Jill's needing to put in protective measures, and she's failing to protect the child. And I think a lot of stuff gets taken away from the actual perpetrator. So I would, probably look at how long they've been married for, the family position, like are they Indigenous, are they like a white Anglo-Saxon family, where do they live, like kind of work out those bigger systems and structures that are playing into why she is experiencing violence. But I think as well for Jill's, Jill's obviously been in the relationship for a long time, so she's already got a lot of protective behaviours that she would be showing.
Yes.
So I think it would be important to like empower her to know that she, even in crisis, that she is still doing a lot to protect her family, and we can support her as much as our organisation can, which obviously, his behaviour impacts on her ability to protect kids, but I think that's
yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your intervention. It's very important as well to us to analyze the different shapes as well that can be addressed this case.
So
a little bit.
So I have also when I studied the Jill's case, I thought first of all it was very painful to hear about her, and after reading through the case, I thought it was domestic violence or a operation to a female's case. So I thought of applying the feminist theory and the anti-oppressive theory, because both the theories focus on explaining and responding to the female oppression or discriminations. So for this, I have decided to do the assessment. Like, first of all, I would introduce the commonalities with Jill, because she is also a woman and I'm also a woman. So first of all, I want to make her calm down, and I want to invite her more to speak so that she can tell me about her problems. And because building a rapport would be a very good to start with. And secondly, I would ask her questions about her past, like since how long her ex-partner has been showing this behavior, how long has it been carrying on, and I'll also ask her general questions about her past lives and her present lives also. And I'll ask about the background of her ex-partner, because the background, I think background will affect a lot.
Yes.
How her husband or ex-partner has been brought up, and why his behavior is like that, and why has he been threatening her to kill her and harm her children. And also I would show empathy to the client, to Jill, because empathy is a great tool to help someone. So as a practitioner, I would show empathy to her, and my interventions would be focusing on the emotional and material support. As our organization, SAFE Safe Steps Australia is working to respond to the client and provide recovery materials and also prevent the high risk areas. So my interventions would cover counseling to the client, because she should be able to cope up with the situation she had in the past, so that her child will not be affected by the
Yes.
witness they have witnessed through the violence in the family. And the next one would be providing the emergency accommodation to her, because right now she is having a problem of shifting a place, and the police is also not responding to her well, and the Department of Housing is also asking for extra letter of recommendations from DVO.
Yes.
So I think our support would be on that case. And I would also, as an organization's representative, I would also focus on empowering her, because she should be able to control her life.
Mhm.
She should be able to control her life and make a decisions about herself. So like empowering is the next focus. And as an organization, I can provide her a referrals, like I can write a written or a verbal referrals to her, that the organization like ours can support her, and on her behalf we can advocate with the police and the court, because they are not hearing her problem. Maybe it's the anti-oppressive way, the anti-oppressive
Systems?
yeah. So the second last would be, I think, the policy level, because as an organization we can bring change to the policy level too, like organizing a joint signature event, and inviting the stakeholders to speak on the case and do something in a policy level. And the last intervention would be a criminal justice response, because as a practitioner I would be having a little bit authority of check and balance of police, court, and legislative responses. So we can check that either the client is receiving a proper attention or not, or as her individual problem is taken as a public matter or not. So I think I have decided these interventions to Jill's case. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you very much for your intervention, Regina. And I agree with you in some of your ideas, and because as well, I thought that the best approach to intervene in this case is the feminist theory. Excuse me. There are things that we have to consider that. Is clearly there exists domestic violence in here, where so many aspects are oppressing the mother. It's like she is being a mother of 6 members in her family. She's going through economic and social stress. The family is having limited resources, but as well, she is being threatened by her ex-partner. But as well, it's very important to check uh, what how this panorama is affecting her inside. Because if we don't focus, I consider that if we don't focus first how we can treat her, how we can expect that is going to be, we can intervene in the children's situation as well. I, as a woman, as taking the feminist theory, empowering her, making her to understand which are her values, which are her strengths, she's going to be able to carry on these problems that is existing, making her realize, making her understand, and as well giving her different solutions to this, and as well
Yeah.
working beside her, so she can carry on this like all these problems together with her child, but making her gain the strength. Yes, and as well, because if she is not mentally healthy, if she is not living in a well-being, in an internal well-being, she wouldn't be able to raise her children, or maybe the children
Yeah.
are gonna absorb different issues as well internally that are going to affect in their personality in the future. So so that's why I shared this with you, Regina, this approach.
Yes, yes.
Because the most
Yeah, and so,
with Alice,
yeah,
yeah, working with Alice and think like sorry, it's Alice or Alice? Alice, Alice, like
Jill.
partners. No, a partners, like working together, like
Oh,
working
yeah, yeah.
together,
Alliance.
alliance.
Alliance, yeah.
Yes, it's very important to work like that, because we can build that, do that, this rapport building, so she can
Yeah,
feel connected with me as a social worker, and I can give her the hope that there is a solution, there exist alternatives, and there is not any problem that can be like stuck in there. So it's very
yeah, and I think participation of client is very important to go to the solutions, because if she is actively or passively, if she contributes a little bit of herself, like in decision making and while negotiating with the agencies to solve her case, I think it will be a great, because our aim is to solve her problems. So I think if she participates, it will be good.
Yes, but as well, another thing is to understand the whys how Jill has asked for help, because she's coming to us only to ask for a letter, but we don't know why she is coming for a letter. Like previously, someone else have told her like the solution of her well-being, of her hope of change for a new life is going to have only a letter that is going to
Mm.
give her a new house, and she is going to live happily very far of her ex-partner, and she's going to build a magic new life. But it's not like that. We have to understand as well what are the previous concerns that she had been carrying on of this time as well. To we have to explore a little bit deeper, like when I started this violence environment at home, how many times she had called to the police. After that,
Yeah.
after how long intervened child safety, and as well there is another theory that I would like to is a critical theory, because if child safety already intervened previously in here, why they didn't, to give them back the child, why they didn't give her all the support or all the advices so she can keep her child in a safe environment? Why they didn't help her, or at least advise her to which organization she can look for help to change or update the DBO, where she can keep her ex-partner away of the family or away to the children, or with specific conditions that cannot affect her, or to allow that her ex-partner treat her. So my question in here is, all the organizations involved, the Department of Violence, Child Safety, have not provided a proper help. We don't understand. We don't know if even Jill is a person who with a very limited education background. Like even if a person doesn't understand the procedures, or sometimes those procedures can be very difficult to follow, if someone, as a social workers, as organization, we have the commitment to give them a step by step and working along and beside them to protect them. So I feel like I have to criticize very strongly with child safety, because they say, okay, we are giving you back your children's, but it's your problem if you are not looking properly of them. We are remove it again. So why they don't look at what are the issues that the mom is having it? So
yeah, and Department of Housing is also not assuring her that it might take long time or short time, but they are asking for her letter extra. The Department of Housing is asking for an extra letter.
yes, exactly. And maybe it's not, or even maybe Jill just is looking for a new house and she is not caring even about what if her ex-partner gonna know in the new place that she's living, or what if her the ex-partner is it's like different things that we have to analyze.
Yeah.
But as well, I would like to listen of Chelsea, your theory, that as well, because we are to be mindful as well about the time, and I would like as well to listen what we can do to consider and
Jill's case, yeah.
I apply some actions for Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I agree with all you guys. You have like, it's a very complex case and she needs a lot of assistance in regards to different things. I really liked your question, Anna, about why wasn't proper help provided in the first place. Like, they failed to walk alongside her and help her through the whole journey, and they only helped her at the beginning. And I believe that relates back to what Rebecca was saying about structural theory. Like, I believe that radical humanism is an effective approach, as involves the practitioner working with the structure system and the client to challenge structural capitalism through subjective experiences. So helping Jill through her experiences and challenging those social structures that are oppressing her, especially in regards to the Department of Housing. That's impacting on Jill's ability to gain a home. The local police and the court is impacting on Jill's ability to feel safe within her community due to the domestic violence order. And child safety are asking her to get extra conditions on the domestic violence order, but aren't helping her with that process. I also had, with what Regina was saying about providing emotional recovery and first aid and stuff, I linked that to crisis intervention task-centered approach theory. I believe that's really essential as well with this case study, because she's obviously, her mental well-being is essential to any kind of assistance we're going to give her. And I also related back to, with the crisis intervention theory, about Robin's 7-stage crisis intervention that I think Rebecca mentioned. I think that was really important to see where she's at and going through the steps and helping her to see if we can work collaboratively together and kind of like involve her in the whole process. Like, client participation, like Regina said, is very important.
Yeah.
Within that theory approach, I thought a good intervention would be to, like, collaboratively go to organisations and, like, do research, calling and visiting shelters, like doing that stuff together to kind of empower her to be involved and see what's available. I also believe that it's really important that she gets a shelter close to public transport, because that could empower her to go to the counselling sessions that I think Child Safety were telling her that she should attend and for her children to attend school. So it's not a huge dramatic change for her. Like they can still carry on with their normal life and still get things done.
Yeah, and in that part, even we can cooperate for her to giving her the counseling, like address her what the changes that she can make. So it's very important as well to, as you say, making her that take the decision, that be involved in this. That is the most
Be
important.
involved, yeah.
I think definitely crisis theory, like, because I totally back you all, and everything that is said is like exactly my thought process as well. But I think my key takeaway from the whole case study is that he has threatened to kill her. Like, her life is on the line. And that's what my problem is with a lot of structural places with child safety, is because there's so much red tape. And as a society, when we're being dominated by patriarchal values and capitalism, and women are constantly put on the front line for being not able to protect their child, even though they're being battered by their people, you know, where it's meant to be safe and involved. So I think like all of the counselling and everything, yeah, comes second. And I think the main thing and priority is the safety of like her and her children, because on placement, I worked alongside like a domestic violence practitioner, and funnily enough, she actually is one of my long lost aunties. But I think when you actually get there firsthand and you're working with people who are, there's people coming and with guns and knives, and like it's very high risk and very intense. And I think that's definitely should be like the number one priority of the intervention, is firstly ensuring her safety, and then obviously empowering her through those different methods.
So secondly, feminist approach would also go well in this case, because a feminist believe that through activism or by supporting through the voices of people, if we collect voices, then gradually we'll reach to the conclusion and solve the problems. Like we can raise voices and act so that the government will include in the policy level too, to support women.
Yes. So at this moment, I think that suddenly we're running out of time. But it's really important to understand that this is a very important case that cannot be solved anly in a couple of sessions, that need further assistance, deeper understanding, which another factors we have to explore as well. But the immediate is focus must be in the child's security, because she is being threatened by her ex-partner. But working together as well is very important to give her providing her own voice until of this, because we don't know even she from how long this issue have been going through. So maybe she's not feeling all totally comfortable, or she is feeling so many limitations inside of her that is not making realize that as well she can take straight and directly actions, and not waiting for the structures that sometimes are equitable. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. Definitely we have to continue with this session, still exploring. So first intervention I want to take is the intervention as well. We should talk with Jill, considering that we cannot give her just the letter that she is looking for without analyzing another aspects that as well is putting her on risk.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think definitely like the goals to take from an intervention would be, supporting the letter from housing, amending the DBO, but then being aware of what that unintended consequences could mean for her, and then just liaising with those bigger systems and sharing information through Child Protection Act, and there's National Domestic Violence Strategy, which allows us to share information as workers with the police, with housing. And yeah, it gets frustrating though. I feel like once we will be working as a reality
Yes, yes.
that it's not as easy as
Yes,
we,
and that's why I think after this the importance of having different approach, because we can identify the different shades that is covering in this case.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because we are discovering new issues and new things that are important to consider and to solve it before to just providing what the client is asking for. Because
yeah,
Yeah.
not only that if we help her giving just the letter, maybe that is not the solution.
That
Maybe
is not the
it's
solution.
worst. So yes, and the most important is to make her aware that all of this can change with a single step, that is
yeah,
uh, working together.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, thank you so much for your
Okay then.
and
Thank
we're
you.
gonna continue this in a next moment. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks. See
Bye
ya.
bye.
Bye.